He is the founder of the Alpha Suite and has generated over $50 million in sales. He is the 2 Combat Club Award winner, best-selling author of his book Alpha Hero, and he's featured in Forbes and Economics Journal. And he's also the host of the Alpha Suite podcast. His mission is very simple. Is to help individuals take control of their lives, live a life of freedom, make a difference, and become the hero in their own story. In his career, he has helped over thousands of students earn 6-figure in their own businesses and change their lives. Everyone, please give it up to Jeremiah "The Boo" Evans.
You did. Love you, bro. Proud of you, man. Proud of you. This is amazing. Proud of you, bro. Oh, I'm good. You know I'm good. Okay. What's going on, guys? Yeah. This fucker, it cuts my hair, right? He is responsible for this beautiful mane back here, okay? So if you hate it, take it up with him. It's his fault. If you love it, here's my idea. But he kept talking to me like, he's like, dude, I'm probably gonna play like Taylor Swift or some shit when you walk up. I was like, if you do, I think I'll leave. So that's a dual second, because we actually listened to that song. Funny enough, we listened to that song while he cuts my hair because we're just sitting there jamming, that new song came out, the I'm Blue thing, right? So, great choice. First and foremost, everybody, please give a huge round of applause for Nafe and what he's put together here. Everyone, seriously, give it up to this man right here. I mean, what an absolute stud of a human being. What he has accomplished in the amount of time. I have worked with thousands of people, thousands. And one of my biggest frustrations, I was actually just speaking to our next speaker about this, and you guys, by the way, just get ready for what's coming next after me. I'm just the prime of the pump. The pump's coming, okay? She's gonna bring the house down, okay? But I was just speaking to her about one of my biggest frustrations. I work with people is that I'll literally give them gold. I'll give them the secrets. I paid thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to learn these secrets from some of the most wealthy people. I just flew home from Tony Robbins' house. And I'm learning from this man, and then I put this into my program. I teach people the same shit I just learned from that guy, or Grant Cardone, or Ed Milet, or some of the biggest names you've ever heard of, who are literally billionaires. And you know what people do with it? They shit on it. They don't do anything. They take zero action, and it breaks my heart. But there's one person who I will make sure everyone knows who does take action, and it's very evident here, and that is Nafe. I could not be more proud of you, brother, seriously. All right, I don't use microphones anytime I can. Obviously, you guys can tell why. Colby here, he could probably tell you why. I feel like I break microphones on my podcast. They always have to turn shit down, and they get mad at me for it. Because I talk, right? I talk loud. If you heard my family, we like to have full-blown conversations. If you ask my wife, it seems like we're arguing with each other, when in reality, this is a normal conversation for me, right? And Braven knows we're up here talking. We just start getting all fiery, right? But I don't need a microphone. So I want to ask you guys permission before I begin. When I speak, I request your permission, and I will only do this with your permission, to speak with passion, to speak unfiltered, to tell you exactly what I want to teach you guys here today, and I will not censor myself. That means I will swear, right? I know we're in Utah, right? That means I will swear, and I will say whatever the fuck I want if it's okay with you guys. So if it's okay with you guys, say yes if that's okay with you guys. Say yes if that's okay with you guys. Good, good. Also, I need you guys to work with me. I need you guys to be involved in how I speak, because I don't actually like to just talk. I like to see your face. I like to work off what I see from you. I like to get the vibe that I'm feeling, and if I don't feel a good vibe, I'm gonna switch up what I'm talking about to make sure we get to where we need to be. So can you, all of you, commit to me right now that you will engage, that you, if I ask you guys for a question, that you will commit to that? Is that something we can agree on? Say yes. Yes. Raise your hand and say yes. Yes. Awesome, awesome. Thank you guys. Okay. What I'm going to share with you, write this down. This is, of all the things I've learned from some of the most wealthy people on the fucking planet, okay? I mean, how many of you know who Tony Robbins is? Yes. How many of you know who Grant Cardone is? Yes. How many of you know who Ed Milet is? Okay? I have had the honor and privilege to sit in these people's homes and not just at a conference, I've had the honor to sit in their homes and have a conversation like a regular human being with them. And what I've learned from these people is actually very simple. They all do the same shit. It's the same fucking thing. I'm listening, wait, there's nothing different? I'm not kidding. I'm literally listening to these people. I'm like, that's the exact same thing. Maybe worded a little bit differently according to their story. But that's the exact same thing I just heard from him and her. Like, what the hell? So what I'm going to teach you guys here today, I want you to write this down, is the number one secret that I've learned from them. This is if I were to give you the secret of success, I know you guys are all probably just going to be like, oh yeah, fuck this guy, right? The secrets of success. I promise you, with everything in me, what I'm about to share with you, is the pinnacle secret of success. Above all, we can talk marketing. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk marketing. I'd call this guy up here because he's a marketing genius, right? We could talk sales. We could talk scaling your business. We could talk about managing your people and your business, and we could talk about whatever you want to talk about. But at the end of the day, all of this funnels down to this principle right here. Is it okay if I share that with you guys? Say yes. Yes. Awesome. I call it the 2 C's of success. Write this down. The 2 C's of success. Okay? The 2 C's of success. What I'm going to share with you guys today, actually, and by the way, I will ask you to write things down because I want to engage with you guys. And I want you to say yes, because this is how I engage with you. Normally when I talk to somebody, if it was just you and me having a one-on-one conversation, I'd be actually just asking you questions. Unfortunately, that's very difficult. Nafe only gives me so much time. He's really, stingy with that shit, right? Wherever he went, he ran off. But I need to engage with you guys on this. But what I'm going to be speaking about today, as you're taking notes, I want you to understand, you'll never remember every word that comes out of my mouth. You'll never remember every word that comes out of his mouth, and all of their mouths, her mouth, you'll never remember. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. You'll never be able to write it down. You could film the whole thing, go back and watch later. It won't matter. It won't matter. You'll never remember everything. So what I want you to focus on is how you feel. Because what I will be speaking on today, I know is the truth. And the truth is what will set you free. The truth actually speaks to you differently than any way I could have. I can try to tailor my message to everyone in here, and yet you're from a different background, you're from a different background. How the fuck am I supposed to speak to everybody here in the exact same way and make an impact on everybody? And it's very simple. I speak the truth. And when I speak true principles, it will resound within you, and it will call something in you that you were meant to hear. Because there's that soul deep inside you, that gut instinct, that intuition that is in every single one of us, that is literally calling to you, that is telling you what you need to do. And it's meant for you and you alone. So write that stuff down. I will ask you to write things down, but write that down. Pay close attention to how you feel on what I'm about to talk about. Can you do that? Say yes. Yes. 2 C's of success. Number 1, courage. Courage is the principle, is the virtue that is the foundation for all other virtues. You cannot have any virtue without first having courage. Courage is the most important of all virtues to have. And I promise you, if you're sitting here thinking, how's this going to help me in my business? I didn't come to Relief Society. This isn't what I want to be here for, right? I promise you, listen to what I'm about to tell you, okay? Listen to what I'm about to tell you. Courage is the number 1 most important thing that will separate the kings from the servants, that will separate the successful from the unsuccessful, from the people who make it happen versus those who make a lot of fucking excuses. Courage is the most important thing. Why is it the most important thing? Why is courage, of all things, the thing I want to talk to you about? And I can talk to you about a lot of cool stuff. I mean, Sam, you're over there. What kind of conversations do we have in the barbershop? They're wild, right? We're talking about great stuff. But of all the things I want to talk to you about, it's this. Why is courage the most important of them all? Because your greatest enemy in this life is fear. Your only enemy that you have to worry about is fear. It's the only thing you have to worry about. It is the only tool the devil can use to keep you from becoming who you're supposed to become. Fear has different faces. Fear of missing out, I call it FOMO, actually a great marketing tactic. I'll teach you guys that some other time, right? Leveraging fear can be manipulation, but it still makes a lot of money, so whatever, right? Fear of missing out, fear of what other people will say, fear of death, right? Fear is the enemy of your life. It is the enemy of who you are supposed to become. And why I'm here to talk to you about courage is because courage cannot exist without fear. Courage is literally non-existent unless you had first felt fear. You cannot have courage if you do not feel fear. My entire life, how many of you have heard my story before when I grew up as a kid? Anyone heard that before? I won't go into it then. I'm just gonna tell you guys right now, I was bullied very, very heavily as a kid, okay? I was called the Fat Bull, right? And I did not come up with the Bull nickname. I actually hated it for a very long time. I was called the Fat Bull. And every day of my life, this is hard for me to talk about because I will never forget the fear that I felt every day of my life. Waking up, shaking, not wanting to wake up because it's a lot more comfortable when I'm in bed. It's a lot more comfortable at my house. I do not want to go outside. I'm literally puking before I go to school because what are they going to do to me that day? One of their favorite things to do, as a matter of fact, was 5 kids would come pin me down and they'd pour chocolate milk down my throat and say, Fat Bull needs his milk. And then they shove tater tots in right after. By the way, I still love chocolate milk. Okay? Probably drink too much of it, that and eggnog. But I was full of fear. Full of it. And it wasn't until I was forced by my father, in the most loving way, forced into that fear, that my life has changed forever. This is why I speak with such passion. This is why I love actually speaking on stages. I would much rather speak on stages and work with people than actually any of my businesses, even though those are way more profitable than this. This is 10 times more important to me because I'll never, ever forget the fear that I have felt. And I became obsessed with it. You know the thoughts that you have? Am I a little bitch? Am I a little pussy? Why am I so afraid? You know that? You're shaking, right? Like you feel that? You know that feeling before you're in a fight? Those butterflies in your stomach? And I know all of you are nodding your head because guess what? A lot of you feel that every day you wake up. I do. I feel fear every single day I wake up. And the secret that I wanted to learn was how do I get rid of fear? How do I become fearless? That was my obsession. It always has been. How do I become fearless? I've tried it all those breath work things. You know how they say if you breathe in twice through your nose and then breathe out, it'll absolve fear, right? All that stuff. It doesn't work, okay? It doesn't work. It just gives you a little buzz in the brain. You're like, oh shit, I'm dizzy, right? And then there's the whole, speak gratitude. It works for a sec, but then, you remember real quick what you're scared of. Hey, big bills due, right? I could go through the list of things that we've all felt, okay? So I became obsessed. How do I get rid of fear? How do I become, quote unquote, fearless? And I quickly learned that I will never, and every single one of you will never be rid of fear. As a matter of fact, the only moment you're rid of fear is if you're dead. If you're dead, you have no fear. If you're alive, you will have fear always. Always. So what does that mean? If you cannot get rid of fear, if you cannot get rid of it and get that feeling out of you and never have to experience that again, then what are you supposed to do? Courage. When you're fearful, it is the moment to be courageous. When you're fearful, it is the moment for you to rise above it. The only way to overcome fear, not get rid of it, to overcome it, is to push right through it. You guys follow me on this? Say yes.
Yes.
How many of you are entrepreneurs in here? Raise your hand. Yeah. I know all you guys you're nodding your head. Because you know what's scarier than anything, especially if you're a father or mother, is when you've taken on the responsibility of taking care of others. It's my responsibility to take care of my kids. It's my responsibility not only to pay my own bills, but to have my business work so efficiently that it pays the bills of 10 other people in my business. So you're not just covering your own bills, you're covering 10 other families' bills. You want to talk about pressure? You want to talk about waking up and wanting to puke? That's pressure. That's fear. So how do you overcome it? Courage. Number 2, and I'm gonna make sure you guys all understand how this connects here, is confidence. I hate that word, by the way. I hate that word because it's so cliche. I actually see people going, there's another, speaker talking about, you gotta be confident, right? But what other word do you want me to use, right? I can say it in Espanol or whatever, I don't know, right? But it's confidence. These 2 things, if you can have these 2 things, nothing would ever stop you. Ever. Ever. You feel me on this? Nod your head. Let me explain why. Confidence, the word confidence actually stems from confide, okay? Fide actually, in Latin, it has the stems of faith. So with faith in, okay? So if I have self-confidence, if I have confidence, or I have confidence in you, means I have faith in you, right? If I have confidence, I have faith in me. Now, what is faith? I know we all talk about faith, and I know you guys are all saying, what the fuck is this sermon? Whatever, it's Utah. I get it, just listen. Just listen. Don't tune out. Every single one of you could probably give me the same definition. Faith is believing in things not seen, and faith is a mustard seed. I get it. That's not what faith is. That's not what faith is. Faith is power. Write that down right now. Faith is power. It's actually, literally power. Faith stems from the belief in. And how do you break down to believe in? To believe in means to be living in. To be living in a state of faith. Faith is the same thing. It's almost a direct correlation, definition of light and truth. When you are full of light and truth, you are full of faith. What is light? What is truth? It is literally power. Let me give you a definition that is very religious. How many of you believe in God? I know that's probably you can't ask those questions. I don't give a fuck. You already gave me permission. I don't give a fuck. It said that when God spoke, the elements obeyed. God's power resides in his integrity. God is God because of his power, because of the truth that is in him. He is all truth. He is the core of all light and life and faith. When he speaks, it is more likely that everything else, the elements of this earth, everything else will give in before his word would give in. That means when he speaks, everything else obeys. He is the essence of an immovable power that everything else must obey. And that same light, that same power is the same power inside every single one of you. Let me make sure you understand what I've just said. The same power that literally holds the entire universe together is the same power inside of you that literally is causing your heart to beat millions of times without even having to think about it. Your lungs produce trillions of liters of air every month, and you don't even have to think about it happening. So that eternal engine inside of you is literally this power that you can tap into. It is who you are. It's eternal. Amen. By definition, thank you. By definition, making you a God. Yeah. I want you to understand what I just told you. By definition, you are a God. Lowercase g, but still. okay? Why? Because I existed before I came here. I exist even in here. And when this body dies, I will continue to exist forever, meaning I am eternal. That eternal engine inside of me, that eternal light that is literally inside of me, you could literally take an x-ray scan and see the light coming off my body. You could see the light coming off our brain. How does this material, because you see light right there, that's coming off a piece of metal. This material right here, this fleshy skin, produces light as if it was a light bulb. Where the hell does that sit? Because it's actually something physical inside of you. It's literal light and it's literal power. And the more you tap into that light, the more you grow your power, the more confident you become. The more faith you have in yourself, the more power your word carries. Your words become power. Your actions become power. When you speak, you obey, because it's more likely for everything else to give in and obey before your word and your light and your truth breaks. And that is the power that rests inside you. Do you feel me on this? Say yes. Yes. Now you're probably wondering, what the hell does this all have to do with entrepreneurship? What the hell does this all have to do with talking about, being a barber, right? Or doing hair, right? Well, I'm assuming every single one of you are here because you have a deep sense of who you want to become. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. Your asses wouldn't have been in these chairs. You wouldn't have paid the price to come here, to set aside your time. What is it, Friday? Is it Friday? Friday? Yeah, on a Friday to be here if you didn't feel that way. Because guess what? There's thousands, millions of people out there who don't care. Haven't even felt that drive in forever. They don't feel this calling to be someone better. So I know I can speak to you about this because I already know that's who you are. I don't have to worry about that. Would I say this to the mass public? Probably not, because they would say, you're fucking crazy. So by definition, let's come back to this, okay? The 2 C's of success. Courage being number 1, and confidence, by the way. It takes supreme courage to have that much confidence in yourself. Am I right? Say yes. Yes. If I'm wrong, say no. It's all good, right? It takes so much courage to have all this belief inside of yourself, to have all this power inside of yourself, to literally be willing to tap into it, because the world's going to tell you that you're full of ego. You're full of pride if you do that. You're full of something that they say is evil if you have that much sense of who you are. And I'm here to tell you, there's not a more evil thing they could ever tell you. And I mean evil, because they are trying to keep you from becoming who you are supposed to become. Imagine, every single one of you, I already know you already have the vision of who you can become. You have the perfect image. You daydream about it. You go to sleep thinking about it. You can see already that perfect body, the perfect lifestyle. You already have that vision. And you know why you have that vision? Because there's something inside you calling it up over and over, begging you to become that, to do what that human being does, almost a different person entirely, and yet somehow still you. You can see it. And someone wants to tell you, you're not supposed to fucking do that? It's full of pride to be that way? Well, if that's the case, then pride is good. Because there's nothing better than becoming who you're supposed to become. There's nothing more important that you could ever do than for you to be more full of light and truth. Any of you ever seen someone walk in the door and you can just feel them? You're like, who the fuck is that? They don't have to say a word, you just feel them. By the way, Tony Robbins is that way. I've seen him speak, and I walked into his house, and his house was full of energy and power that you can't describe unless you've actually felt something like that before. How many of you felt something like that before? In someone's house or around them? Raise your hands high. You see someone, you feel them, and you immediately think, damn, who's that? It's because they are literally emitting more light and more energy and more power than the rest of us. And you can feel it. Our brains are literally like radio waves, and I emit a signal that you can pick up on. That's why you can feel someone behind you or feel someone in the room without ever having to see them, because you can pick up on the frequency they're giving off. That's also why in your gut, in your instincts, you know if this person has bad intentions or good intentions when you speak to them. Because if they're speaking to you and you sense bad intentions, it's because they're emitting that frequency. They're emitting that type of energy, and you can pick up on it without ever having to even see it. So now take a look at yourself. Take a look at who you are right now and really think, are you full of that confidence, that faith that's inside you? And because that faith is the ability to believe it, the ability to literally create from up here, to create and to literally make what happens up here, out here in this life. You know what I'm saying, right? Every single one of you understand the power of this, right? That's a conversation we could have for hours, but we don't have time for that. But if you don't understand the power of this, you got a long way to go. That should be your first priority, is to understand just how powerful you are. You understand what I'm telling you? I'm telling you that there's literally such a power inside you that you are the gods of this earth. You have the power of literally God himself that is your light and life and that gives you dominion over all things in this world. You're not one with nature, by the way. I know everyone wants to act like you are. You're not one with nature. As a matter of fact, nature is beneath you. Some people get really mad when I say that. It's always the, what do you call them? The liberals? No, I'm just kidding. Environmentalists, we'll go with that one. Environmentalists. They always want you to think that you're one with nature. Oh, you know, we're all beings. Fuck no. I'm not a fucking lion. I'm not an antelope. I'm not some elk. I'm a God. I am eternal. I existed before and I will exist after. And if you just understood just who the fuck you are, you would never question yourself. You would never not bet on yourself. You are the power that you're supposed to tap into every single day. Every single day you're supposed to be obsessed with who you're becoming. Because there's nothing more glorious than for you to become who you're supposed to become. You feel me on this? Say yes. Yes. So, why am I talking about this? What does this have to do with anything? Because I fucking talk to people about the secrets of building a funnel, building a website. Here's your marketing strategy. Literally just copy and paste what I'm telling you. Don't reinvent the wheel. Just do this. And you know what always happens? I'll get to it later. I mean, that's really good. Yeah, I'll do it. And they don't do it. Why? Because they're so full of fear that they can never get over that fear. How many of you felt that fear? You know you want to build a business. You know you want to take it to the next level, and yet you're so fucking afraid. Raise your hand. Be honest. It's okay. Look, guess what? I feel that fear. I am taking my business to the next level like you can't believe, and I have been so full of fear every single day. And that's good, because when you're facing a fear, you're literally cleansing your soul. Fear you could define as a fire, as a cleansing fire. As a matter of fact, I was just with Tony. I don't want to keep going back to that, but his wife calls it the blue flame. The blue flame is the hottest part of the fire. It's what burns the hottest, and it also cleanses the most. And so you could sit over a fire, it's pretty hot, but the deeper you go into the fire, the deeper you go into the pain, into the fear, the more cleansed you will be. So the blue fire, and the deeper you push into that fear, the deeper you look at it and say, not today, and you fucking push through it, is the more you actually become. It's almost as if everything that's put in front of you is just this step to literally absorb more light and truth. Every time you overcome your fear through courage, you absorb more light and more truth, and you become more full of faith, which in turn makes you more full of confidence. You see where I'm getting at with this? So if you're sitting here listening to this, do you really think it fucking matters about your social media tactics? Like posting on your story? You're literally worried about that? You're telling me you can't just get a post up? Or you want to talk about building your business, hiring more people, doing the thing that scares you the most? Because a lot of the times, as a matter of fact, I would put my head on it to say every time, the thing that scares you the most is the very thing you're supposed to do. It's pretty easy. What you're scared of is exactly what you're supposed to do. You want to figure out what your next step is? It's right there, shouting you in the face. Fear is your greatest enemy. And it's only by becoming full of more light and truth that you can become someone to actually accomplish these things. So now, how do you begin this process of becoming full of courage and becoming full of confidence? I'm gonna tell you actually the first step. Number one, it has to be who you are. And what I mean by that, it has to be, if I were to ask you who you are, define yourself for me, you would say, my name is so-and-so, this is what I believe, and I am a man of courage. Once you have established and you declare yourself as that person, say, I am courageous. That is who I am. By the way, if you say it, it's true. I don't care what anyone else says. No, you're not courageous. Fuck you. Because I am courageous. And the more you let yourself feel that, the more you let yourself absorb that belief that I am a courageous human being, you have declared war on any bit of fear that will ever come into your life. Because the moment fear comes into your life, it is telling you that you're wrong. No, you're not. Any moment you feel fear, they're like, you're not courageous. So now you have declared war and you're in a constant battle of saying, fuck you. I am courageous. And by definition, you cannot exist if I am to be a courageous person. If I'm courageous, then no fear will stop me. Doesn't mean you don't feel the fear. Doesn't mean it still makes you want to puke. That's fine. Because the courage only comes if you're scared to death. By the way, any of you ever have a dream of becoming a billionaire? If you become a billionaire, you take on billion-dollar problems. It's a lot scarier than million-dollar problems. And $1 million problems is a lot scarier than $100,000 problems. The most courageous human beings on earth are the people at the top because they have overcome more fear than all of us. And they constantly look at fear as a challenge to who they are. So number one, how do you become courageous? You just say you're courageous. You literally just say, this is who the fuck I am. Because that definition of who you are, owning that, taking it as a part of your fucking soul, saying this is who I am, anything else that would come at you is a declaration against who you are. You feel me on this? Say yes. Yes. That's as simple as it needs to be, by the way. There's nothing else. You just need to own that and take that upon yourself as a definition of who you are. If I were to ask you, who is this person right here? And you were to tell me, this is this, you better tell me every single time that who I am is courageous. Number two, confidence. Confidence is probably one of the most difficult. Every time you overcome fear, you will obtain more light and truth. You'll literally absorb more power. And I'm saying those words for a reason. I'm not saying you'll become a lot better at what you do. No, you will absorb more power. And the more power you absorb, the more impactful you can be. The bigger difference you can make. Because that person who walks in, who you go, who the hell is that? Is now who you're going to become. So how do you obtain more courage? Number one, you be courageous. Number two, write this down. It's called a power promise. Power promise. In order to have such supreme belief in yourself, it all stems from the connection from your words and your actions. What you speak must happen. If you declare it, it must happen, or you do not have power. You do not have integrity, light, and truth. So in order to obtain more confidence, you have to at least start with one thing, and I call it the power promise. And I can't claim this. Actually, it was Ed Milet who taught me this. And it's simply this. You choose one thing in your life, and the more simple, the better, by the way. You choose one thing in your life that you will do every single day. And that could be as small as, I will drink 1 cup of water every day. The more simple, the better. Or it could be, I will never drink Diet Mountain Dew again. I want you to understand something. I don't care how stupid it sounds. I don't care if you never drink Sobe water or Diet Mountain Dew or anything like this again. I don't care. You have to make a declaration of what you will always or never do, ever. And again, the more simple, the better. I know a man who keeps a rock in his pocket. It's a very small rock. And his power promise is that he will always have the rock with him. How simple is that? It's like literally a pebble. It's a pebble. He always keeps it with him. You know why he does this? You know why we develop a power promise? Because you develop a track record with yourself that you always keep your word. And if you always keep your word, then you know when I speak, I obey. When I speak, the world obeys. When I speak, there's power. And you develop this momentum over time of supreme confidence that if I speak, I will obey. You want to talk about how to get in shape? You want to talk about how to become a successful entrepreneur? Just keep your word. Be full of integrity and light and truth that when you speak, it already is going to happen. I know a lot of people like to call this manifesting, but guess what? You don't get to just say these things and act like it's going to happen. There has to be an action behind it. There has to be power behind it in who you've become. Because who you've become is what carries out that power to literally speak. You feel me on this? Say yes. Yes. Okay. The more you obsess over these two things, the more I can tell you nothing could ever stop you. Because how simple, think about this. Think about your life if you never had any fear. Think about it. Where would you be if you never ever felt fear? Where would you be if you always kept your word? How much different would your life be today? How much different would you look? How much different would you be when you carry yourself, when you speak, your bank account? How much different would your life be if you never ever had fear and you always kept your word? Every single person in this room would be worth hundreds of millions of dollars, in incredible shape, just absolutely crushing your life. When you all walk in, everyone would be like, who the fuck is that? But you haven't. And I haven't. Because we have failed ourselves in not having courage and not believing in ourselves enough to have that kind of confidence and to keep our own word. So if you really want to grow your business, if you really want to just take on more clients, open up more locations, whatever it is, it's so small. That's so small. If you can just get over the bullshit fear that is literally hammering your mind every single morning, trying to keep you from where you're going to be. It hammers you. It hurts. That fear hits you so hard. Holy shit, I want to get rid of it. But that's why they say there's no growth in the comfort zone and there's no comfort in the growth zone. Because if you're not feeling fear every single day, you're full of shit. Your life is useless. And I mean that. Your life is useless because you have not pressed forward and actually become something greater. What good do you provide to the world if you're not willing to suffer and push through pain in order to become someone who can actually make a difference in this world? If any of you listen to my message, when I talk about this stuff, you know, I wanted my business called Alpha's Creed, and Alpha Con was my event, and everyone's like, what the fuck? You know why I named it that? Because I was actually afraid to name it that. I knew what it means. I knew exactly what it would mean. I knew it would bring the woke mob on me to make me feel like I'm some wannabe alpha guy. And that's why I have this haircut. That's why I do these things, because it's a fuck you to anybody else who would try to tell me what I can fucking do. You really think you're gonna make me change the name of my own company? Anyone who's offended by that, I already know I don't want to deal with you anyway. So it just works for my benefit. But that's why. Because when I had the name, I felt good about it. I knew it. My gut told me to, and yet I was full of fear. I was like, I know what that's going to bring. And it was because of that that I said, well, now I have to. Now I have no choice. Because if I didn't, I'm a coward. And every day I look at the name of my company, every day I look at what I'm doing, I would be reminded of my own cowardice. And it would haunt me forever until I finally gave in to change it back, and that was not something I could ever live with. You guys feel me on this? Say yes. Yes. Guys, I'm here to tell you this right now. this is true principles. This is not something that I came up with. Okay? This is not just some magic, right? That we go skip around that, wow, I've never heard this before. You've all heard this before. Am I right? Say yes. Yes. And yet it's the truth, and yet we don't accept it for what it really is. And I'm speaking this truth to you right now, and I know that it's calling something inside you. It's already telling you. I'm not sitting here telling you what you need to change. You already are hearing it. You're hearing it right here, right now, as I'm talking about this, because I'm speaking the truth. And the truth is the only thing that can set you free. The more full of light and truth you are, the more you will become a force for good in this world. And that is my obsession, is to become that human being and to hopefully inspire others to do the same. Because I don't care what your business is. One of my businesses is life insurance. Kind of boring. I don't care about the business. It's a means to an end. Who cares? I will do it though, and I will succeed because there's a much greater purpose that I have. And that is, number one, I want to fight to help save kids from child sex slavery with Operation Underground Railroad. And I've donated millions of dollars to their cause. I was actually, the reason why I met Tony Robbins was because, thank you, I appreciate that, was because of what we were doing with actually Operation Underground Railroad, because I knew the fear that I felt when I was getting chocolate milk poured down my throat by kids. That was scary enough, made me not want to wake up anymore. And if that's how I felt, well, now I imagine kids with adults preying on them and buying them for sex slavery. You want to talk about fear? You want to talk about someone who literally has no control over life and is living in the darkest hell you could ever imagine? I will not live and not be contributing to that cause, because if I do, I'm a hypocrite. And by the way, if you live your life without fighting for the causes you believe in, you're also a hypocrite and you're useless. You're useless. Let me make sure you understand that. If you believe in something and there's something that's calling to you, maybe it's saving the dogs. I love dogs. I want to save all of them, right? Maybe it's the whales. Maybe it's suicide prevention. I know we live in Utah, which actually happens to be one of the suicide capitals of the world. So I know I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads right now. Maybe that's your passion. Maybe you feel that way because of what you're called to be. And yet, by you choosing to do nothing, you by definition are nothing. Because silence in the presence of evil itself is evil. Your silence and your inability to act is your fault. Because the power is already inside you. There's nothing stopping you except for your own bullshit. That power that's inside you, that power that I talked about, that's literally the exact same power that holds this entire universe together, that keeps all the elements collided. That same power is inside of you, and you can't build a funnel, you can't build a website or promote on social media. Don't give me that shit, because all I hear is you have no idea who the fuck you are. And it's sad that I know who you are more than you do. I hope if there's anything that I've taught you here today, and maybe not even something that I just want to hope to maybe spark something inside you, a calling, I pray that every single one of you will take action on what you felt today. Because that feeling that you're feeling right now is the revelation that will make you who you're supposed to become. And if you don't act on it, you're a hypocrite. You're nothing. You're useless. Because think of all the people you could have helped had you become who you're supposed to become. Thank you all so much. Appreciate you guys. Love you. Proud of you, brother.
Thank you.
Proud of you, man. Love you, buddy.